What's cracking? It's a beautiful fall morning and I get to work on the Jeep. Notice I said I get to and not that I'm going to. I took this in for an emissions test so I could renew my registration, and it failed. It failed for two reasons. An exhaust leak, which I already knew about, but I was hoping wasn't bad enough to flag. I was clearly wrong. And no check engine light. Well, turns out my model doesn't have a check engine light. I am pre-OBD1 because mine's an 89. OBD1 didn't start until 91. And according to a buddy of mine, that it didn't become standardized until OBD2, which was mid-90s. So my Jeep should be listed as unequipped for the check engine light, which would make sense why I have never seen one and why it passed the first time. So that is a mistake on their part that I hope they will remedy. But the exhaust I still have to take care of, so I'm going to do that today. I've got a new exhaust manifold because I believe that's where the leak actually is. And I also have a new exhaust kit, Banks exhaust kit, that goes on the back. Now I did read the instructions for the Banks kit, and I'm glad I did, because I would have just hacked a bunch of stuff off. I thought it was the entire system from the manifold all the way to the tailpipe. That is not true. It's only from the catalytic converter back. So there is a portion from the manifold through the catalytic converter that I have to reuse. So I'm going to start by trying to get the tailpipe off up to the manifold. I'm planning, well, I'm not going to plan anything yet. Let's just get underneath and take a look and see what we need to do. Okay, this should be pretty straightforward, a little more so than I thought. So here's my catalytic converter. Here is my stock muffler. So basically at this connection right here is where my new kit starts, and it looks like going up and over the rear axle. All that stuff matches with my new kit. So I'm replacing my muffler is really all it comes down to. So hopefully I can get these bolts off. If not, I can cut that. Hope I can get this off without too much trouble, separated from the cat. Let's take a look up front. Right, I was thinking I would cut it off above the flange, but that's going to be really horrible access. So I am going to go ahead and see if I'm lucky enough to get those bolts to come loose. And if that works, then of course I'll need to take out that that's my oxygen sensor right there, which I have replaced previously. And it looks like there's one other something up in there that I'm gonna have to get out. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure that oxygen sensor won't be a problem. We'll see about the other one that's up above it. And then the rest of this pipe, like I said, I should be able to just leave in place through the catalytic converter, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to grab some. First bracket is off. You can see one of them broke. That was the first one. The other one came off. This isn't a big deal because my new exhaust kit from Banks did come with all new hardware. So this is and was going to always be replaceable. There's the one that broke off. So making progress. Alright, everything from the cat back is removed. I did have to, for sake of time, cut some stuff off. So I cut it off right here, and then partially cut the flange, which was kind of stuck until I was able to get it moving. and of course got it off. And there is a ring around this. I'm going to leave it for now in case I need it for the new one. And while I'm here, this is part of the patchwork I did from the Rust video, and I wasn't able to get to this bottom side because the muffler was in the way. So now that I've got access to it, I think I'm going to grab some rust inhibitor paint and throw a coat or two on here. Meanwhile, let's head to the front and see if I can get the manifold to the tailpipe disconnected. Well, I've got a small problem. I got this bolt off, but this one has stripped, and I can't really get anything in there. I've got the space between the flange and the two flanges that I could cut the bolt. I just can't get anything in there to do it at this angle. So I think what I'm going to do is get under the hood, get the manifold taken off, and hopefully I'll be able to drop this down far enough at that point that I can get to it with the Sawzall and cut that bolt off. So from up top, what I need to do is take off the air box and the throttle body, because I'd have to take off the manifold because it shares a gasket with the exhaust manifold. So, and I am going to replace that gasket, although I suspect that the leak is in the exhaust manifold itself. There is a possibility that it's a gasket issue. So I am also have to remove the power steering pump, which because this bracket has to come off, which is attached to the throttle body or the intake manifold. And while I'm doing that, I have a leak, I believe, on the hose down on the bottom. So I have new power steering hoses. I'm going to try to replace those while I'm doing this, since I'm moving a bunch of the stuff around anyway. I do not have to remove the fuel rail, although I do have to disconnect, of course, the fuel line, and I'll have to disconnect a bunch of the vacuum connectors. But that's yeah, I think the bulk of it. So I think I'm going to start by getting rid of this, getting this air box out of the way. That'll free up a lot of space, and then we'll just start kind of disconnecting stuff as appropriate from there. I finally got it. I had to go in from the top to cut that bolt, but I did finally get it. Looks like I'm going to have to bend that flange back a little bit. That's okay. I've got a lead donut gasket to go on that, which should seal nicely. I've got lessons coming up here about 45 minutes, so I'm going to have to call it for now at this point, but hopefully the hard part is behind me. All I need to do is clean up the gasket surfaces. The gasket is still on there, the old one, but I come clean that up, the brass brush, new gasket on, and then putting things in place should be harder than taking them out of place. Fingers crossed. But let me get all the tools packed up for the afternoon, and we'll get back to it tonight. While it's still light out, I want to show this. I believe that is likely an open crack right there. And same thing at the weld on this one right next to it. These are the two back ones, but I don't know that those were the ones causing a lot of the issue. If you look right here, there's a lot of residue around this back channel. I really think that this is probably where the primary exhaust leak was manifesting itself. But multiple problems. Replacing this manifold is, I think, the proper course of action. So, all right, I'm done teaching. Back to the Jeep. It is dark out now, so I've got my headlight on, and I have called in reinforcements. My buddy Lance is going to be here in half an hour or so, which should be just enough time for me to get the mating surfaces cleaned up. So I'm going to take a look at the intake manifold, get that cleaned up. I don't know that the block is going to need very much because of the gasket, but we'll see when we get there. Let's hit it. So here is my intake manifold, and overall I think it looks pretty good. I got a little bit to clean up on this one and this one here at the end. All in all, I think this one looks pretty good. I expect a little brake clean or rubbing alcohol with a rag. As predicted, that intake manifold cleaned up nicely with some rubbing alcohol. I have just pulled off the old gasket, and I do think there was the leak was at this end. This is the back end near the firewall. Looks like I'm missing maybe a little piece right there. But this is what the mating surface looks like. And because of some buildup and stuff on this, I think I am going to grab a scraper, particularly back there towards the back. But overall, I think this looks pretty good. But might take a little more work to clean it up, which is somewhat to be expected. While I'm waiting for my buddy Lance to show up, I went ahead and put in the new power steering hoses. They lined up really nice, came with new O-rings. I haven't put them on this end yet, so I don't want to get them dirty while we're moving stuff around. They went in pretty easy, and I'm very hopeful and fairly confident that this will stop my power steering pump leak. So with that, I'm just waiting for Lance. I want to get a second opinion on these mating surfaces, on their cleanliness. I'm ready to be attached. So as soon as he gets here, we should be ready to. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but I just want to document this hose has like a regular hose clamp on it. This was the not the power hose, but I don't think it was the high pressure one. I think it was the return hose, I believe. But it's got a hose clamp, like a regular hose clamp down at this end, and that's right where it was leaking. I'm pretty sure that was the cause of my power steering leak, was that junction. Everything else seemed pretty clean up on the steering power steering pump, and even down where it goes into the steering box. So I really think that this was it. My new hose are all crimped, so there's no such fitting. So that adds to my confidence that this is going to fix the problem. One other thing that I did when I first bought the Jeep, I bought a new sensor that I have not been able to find the location of. I've been sitting on it for like 2 years, and with the exhaust and intake manifolds out of the way, I finally located it. It's something related to the coolant temperature system. So I swapped it out. Now my block was full of coolant, but I lost very little once I realized that from pulling the old one out. I popped it back in to hold the water, got the new one, did a quick exchange. I lost little, I mean a little of course, but hardly any. So but I have the new one in. That's just a nice relief. I was thinking it was either that one or the one on the intake, but pretty sure this was it. So glad to have that installed. I'm staging things a little bit to go on, and I grabbed the new header and noticed that I've got a little bit of just rust on a couple of these, and so I'm going to grab the alcohol and the rag and just clean that up a little bit so it's as clean as possible going on. So surprisingly, I had to take the scraper to it. Some of this seems to be embedded, but I got all the surface stuff off, so I'm confident that that will mate as well as it needs. So Lance just got here. He's looking over the manifold. Real-time reaction.
I mean, so far it looks okay. Hold on a second. What am I missing? Am I missing something?
I mean, nothing drastic, but I think I'm seeing a crack.
Oh, right there. Oh, yeah. Did you right off of
Right
that
there,
side?
and that one also right at the weld.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, yeah, look. It's not even a crack per se. It's just looks like the weld didn't stick. Like it wasn't big enough. Like a deep enough weld. So it technically did actually weld, right?
But I also think if you look at the residue on this end right here, especially on the outsides here,
Yeah.
I do think it was leaking. I think the gasket was
Oh, yeah.
was gone.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it. So. Wow. Well.
And then now you were saying that, oh yeah, I hadn't seen that before.
That muffler is.
That's probably what was making all the noise.
I mean, that's pretty janked up. So there's that.
All right. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. Alrighty. It's a little after 1 a.m. It's probably close to 1:30 actually. We've got everything put back together. Lance left a bit ago. It took me way too long to get this power steering pump put back on. Turns out that middle bolt in the middle of the bracket, I forgot to cinch that down, so it wasn't letting it release enough to get the belt on. It must have taken me an hour and a half to figure that out. But we've got everything buttoned up. I'm pretty reasonably confident that everything's hooked up the right way, except I see here got one throttle linkage I need to hook up. I'll do that here in just a moment. That one's an easy one. What I'm most concerned about are the vacuum lines, getting all those in the right place. I still need to bleed the power steering and put on the exhaust, but I'm going to work on that tomorrow. I'm going to call it a night as soon as I get that hooked up, and we'll see you when it's day. Okay, I'm working on getting this tailpipe hanging bracket installed, and I've come across a problem which a lot of people have with these aftermarket ones. These bolts sitting proud doesn't let it slide in flush. So I have an idea. I'm going to take it over to the vise, put it in. I'm basically going to bend a relief in for these on both sides, and that should be a fairly quick and easy fix. Let's hit the vise. Boom, just like that. Perfect. Now let's get it put in. Alright, back to it. This is where I left off last night. I've got this clamped in, bolts are tight. It's not going anywhere, got a good pinch. And so I'm ready to start hanging some exhaust. So this is going to take a little cutting, and it's that time of night that I can get away with some cutting, so I'm going to do this first. Okay, I have the new muffler and tailpipe installed. I've got one spot that I'm a little concerned about the seal, but I won't know until I fire it up. So I'm not going to do that tonight because it's around 11 o'clock, and if it sounds as cool as it's supposed to, it'd wake the neighbors, and that would not be cool. So I'm going to hold off until the morning, and when it's light out I will show it to you. It also started raining really heavy a few minutes ago, and everything's kind of wet, so it's just a good time to wrap it for tonight. Finally, a chance to work during some daylight. I'm going to start by bleeding the power steering pump. So I'm going to pour some of this great fluid in here, and then turn the key to the ACC position, and I'm going to have to jack up the front, and then with the car in the ACC position I should be able to just rotate the wheel lock to lock back and forth, and manually from the outside. That should bleed the system. So let's grab the jack, I guess, and then alright, I've just topped this off. For the first time you can see all the little bubbles, but there is a lot more to come if this goes anything like it did last time. So I'm going to set you up here to watch, and we'll do this together. Alright, the Jeep is jacked up, parking brake is on, so I'm as safe as I feel necessary. And let's start turning the wheel here. Okay, I'm getting a good turn. Oh yeah, you see that? Okay, and then just more of the same. You get the idea. So I'm going to turn you off, not let you sit through the boring stuff. I'm just going to do this until it quits bubbling. Alright, I topped it off once more and went lock to lock about 15 times. But it hasn't gone down as much as I thought. I'm pretty sure I need more fluid than what I've put in. So I may need to actually fire it up and get the pump running to evacuate the remaining air. But I can't do that until I finish the exhaust, so we're gonna have to jump back. Alright, this is my primary concern, this joint right here. I did have the new muffler flange up over here, but by the time I tightened everything up, it had walked its way off quite a bit. I just have no confidence that this is sealed at all. So I picked up some stuff from O'Reilly's yesterday, and it includes some sealer specific for exhaust systems. I'm gonna put that on. And that means that I need to take the entire exhaust system off again so that I can get to this. So these are the new products that I got. Definitely going to use this exhaust sealer, rated up to 1500 degrees. It looks like it's basically like caulk or silicone sealant for the exhaust. I'm going to put that on thick and heavy as per the instructions. And then here are the two couplers. I've got one reducer and one straight across. We'll see if either one of those will work to narrow down how much sealer I have to use. And then of course the appropriate clamps, one for the 2 1/8 and one for the 2-inch where it reduces. Alright, I'm hoping this 2 1/8 is my solution. It fits this end of the new muffler fantastic. I can get a good seal on that. It nearly fits over the old muffler, or the old cat, but I believe this cat is not completely round. From what I can see, it's kind of oval shaped this way. It's flared here at the sides, likely from the previous clamping down from the top, and so causing the sides to go out. So what I'm gonna try to do with a crescent wrench is just bend some of these tips in just a little bit so that I can get it to start sliding on, and then I can use a persuader, aka a hammer, after that to get it up to at least this rib right here, and that will be a much tighter seal, and then clamp it, and then we should be good to go after. Alright, just a little mild bending. I kind of went around the whole thing, and now I can get this, slide it on enough, slide it on, I'm not sure that's slid on, there we go, enough that I feel confident that a hammer will do the rest of the trick. Smash this on and clamp it, and then I'm going to let it set, which is I think 2 to 3 hours or 2 to 4 hours, what the instructions said. Alright, here's the tools of the trade. I've got this cleaned off to my liking. Still a little sticky on the one end, but whatever. I've got my joint and crack sealer, hammer, and a board to keep me from dinging up this end as I pound it on. And just because I've got it, no need to. I'm going to go ahead and do a second bead here. It says to put this on pretty liberally, so I'm not going to be shy. Okay. Well, that's certainly got a good seal around that. It's goopy. I'll clean that up in a minute, but let's pound it on here. Oh yeah. If this was a weld, I would be embarrassed, but okay. I think that's as far on as it's gonna go. So, kind of smooth this out. I was thinking about trying to get some on the inside, but not gonna make it. That whole edge is sealed, so we'll call that good. Let's let that set. All right. At long last, I believe the exhaust system is installed. So there's the coupler. I did put some gasket seal also on that second one. So in here on the inside. So both of these should have a good seal. But I did not use any after that because I don't think it really matters. So we've got it on. It's nice and firm. That is still curing, even though it has been about 4 hours. It's so thick that it was still goopy. It had a crust on the outside, but it was goopy on the inside. So, but it does say that heat will help accelerate the cure. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, get some heat going through there. It runs back here over the axle. I did cut about another inch off at this junction to accommodate for the what I guessed was an inch here. It's probably a little more, but it still works. So it comes from there along the back. There's one more seam right there. That's one I didn't bother to put seam seal on, exhaust seal. And then one of the characteristics that Banks promotes is that their tailpipe angles down and shoots the exhaust down versus straight out as the factory one did. I've got with my EAG, I've got with my Smittybilt bumper, it does contact right there, but I'm okay with that. I've got a really nice tight fit. There's no movement. If it does become a problem, I can always go cut a little bit more off of that other one and move it more towards the inside of the vehicle a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. So with that said, it's time to fire this thing up. Now Banks did say there may be a little bit of smoke from the oil that they put on it to preserve, but I'm not expecting any more than that. Let's do it. Alrighty. I have repented and sealed all the joints on the exhaust, and I did, while it was running, check the power steering fluid. It had sucked down about halfway, and I did get some good bubbles out of it. I just topped it off, so that's what that bubble is. But we're now ready to give this another fire. So let's see what we got. With that, I'm not feeling any air out of any of those joints. I think the exhaust is done. It doesn't sound really that much different from the factory version, but that's okay. I didn't want it loud or anything like that. I was just expecting it to be a little different. Yeah, we're getting good flow out the back. I think we finally got there. If you found this helpful or entertaining, please like or make a comment. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I've got several more upgrades going on the Jeep. I'm going to finish bleeding the power steering pump, and we'll see you on the next one.